Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Culture Shock, the show reminding you that the last presidential debate looked a little bit like this. Yep. I didn't think Trump did very well in that presidential debate. In fact, I don't think Biden did very well either. It was just going back and forth. Felt like an everyday scenario on Twitter, just going back and forth, just spouting unrelated topics to questions that were asked. And, Chris Wallace wasn't really a very good moderator. He was supposed to have been neutral, but he just kept on cutting Trump off and not asking Biden some of the more pressing matters like Antifa and what he plans to do with the economy and packing the court and stuff like that. So it was all a bit shit show. It was a big shit show. So just yesterday, actually, we kind of was supposed to have our second presidential debate between Trump and Biden. However, because of recent events, Trump getting COVID, those debates were actually called off. But as a special treat, we got town halls, which I think is a bit better because you're getting questions from undecided voters who are concerned about each candidate and where their policies are going to go. And it actually kind of helps each candidate to kind of go in a little bit more in depth on what they're planning on doing. So yesterday we got Trump on a town hall meeting with Savannah Guthrie. I don't really know her last name. I can't really pronounce it, but he held his town hall meeting over in Miami while Joe Biden held his over in Pennsylvania. And of course, the media went crazy because NBC was hosting Trump's debate. Not really sure why that was such an issue, but the workers over at NBC went crazy. And like I said, I don't even really know anymore, to be honest. So honestly, during these town halls, this is when I think that both candidates are kind of sort of in their game. Joe Biden was going off on tangents a lot. He's been known to have used teleprompters during his interviews and stuff like that. So I'm pretty sure he took the necessary time to prepare himself, which is great. But some of his answers weren't very coherent, and I'm going to get into that. Get into that a bit later. But Trump, on the other hand, Trump likes the attention. I mean, that's what he does. He's a superstar. He's a celebrity. He likes it when the camera's on him, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. When he's not trying to one up Biden on things that he feels as though Biden should acknowledge, he's actually very good on expressing what his policies were, what he's done, and what he plans to do in the next 4 years. So that was also pretty cool to watch. So this is actually going to be a two-parter video. I'm going to do a video right now on Trump's town hall meeting, and then part two is going to be a video on Biden's town hall meeting. But before we get started, there's a few things I want to address to you guys. But before we get into that, of course, like, subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new. I've been active on Facebook lately, so I know a lot of people have been seeing my videos. If this is your first time watching me, please go ahead and subscribe, like, leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section. Of course, I read every single comment and I reply to everything. And of course, listen to the podcast version of this show, wherever you listen to podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Anchor. I don't know what else is out there. And there's also availability everywhere you listen to podcasts. So there you go. Also, join me on Discord. And of course, join me on Parler. My Twitter's open. And I will get into why you need to do that in a second. All right. So yesterday, I don't even know how to start this. This is very bizarre and insane. But yesterday, the Washington Post. Now, keep in mind, the Washington Post is a very left-wing biased news source. They've been after Trump since 2015. To be honest, I mean, they might write a good piece on him every now and again, but most of the stuff that they write has just been a hit piece on Trump. But yesterday, the Washington Post dropped a expose on Hunter Biden, who is Joe Biden's son. Apparently, Hunter Biden has been collecting money from various countries such as Ukraine, Russia, and China, using his father's, Joe Biden's, name and his advantages as being head of foreign affairs during the Obama administration. So a little corruption there. If you haven't read the full article, check out the Washington Post. You can Google it. It's right there. Take a look for yourself. So yesterday, people who tried to share that article among Facebook and Twitter were automatically suspended. Now, this should be a problem for anybody because social media tech giants who are silencing people and deciding what kind of information you are allowed to view, in my opinion, is not right. Okay? This is why people are starting to flock off Twitter and they're flocking off Facebook and they're going over to places like Parler because it's a free speech zone. They're starting Discord servers where people can go in there and just freely discuss and chat and exchange memes without the threat of being shut down or silenced. Okay. Now, Twitter yesterday was actually shut down because so many people had tried to share that article. People couldn't tweet, people couldn't get updates to their news feed, people can't get updates to their notifications. We all thought that it was an issue with Twitter, but no, Twitter actually shut down because so many people were trying to share that article and Twitter said, nope, not doing it. Now, I don't know if you guys experienced that on Facebook. Some people are coming out and saying that they did. Some people are saying that they didn't. I'm not really sure, but I know that I'm very active on Twitter, and my Twitter feed and everything was just zero. So that's a really big problem when it comes to our democracy, and I think that it needs to be addressed. Um, Facebook had a system, I think, a month ago, that they're going to fact check everything before it allowed it to be posted on Facebook. Facebook didn't even fact check this news source. And it's really, really irritating that you're going to put in a rule to fact check every single piece of news source that comes through your servers, but then one that kind of paints Biden in a bad light, your presidential preferences here, it's not good if you don't fact check it. And they never did fact check it, by the way. So I think an investigation is going to be launched into Twitter and Facebook, kind of going over why they did that, because it is infringing on our First Amendment rights. They should not have the authority or say so to tell us what we can and cannot view or post or whatever. So I will keep on bringing you guys updates on that. Look into the whole Hunter Biden case. Again, no one asked Joe Biden during these town halls about his son. I wish they did, but it is what it is. Now, on to the topic of the show. Trump did a town hall in Miami yesterday, and I think he did exceptionally well. I think he did fantastic and phenomenal. He answered every question thoroughly and precisely, clearly. He wasn't stumbling over his words, and in my opinion, I think that he gave the people what the people wanted, and that's just my opinion. Savannah Godfrey, I'm not really sure who she is. I'm pretty sure she's probably a journalist or a news host. I don't know. I don't follow news mainstream media because I have my reasons, as most of you do know. But of course, the first question out of this woman's mouth is, how do you feel about white supremacy?
You were asked point blank to denounce white supremacy. In the moment, you didn't. You asked some follow-up questions. Who specifically? A couple of days later, on a different show, you denounced white supremacy.
No,
my question to you is,
you've done this to me and everybody.
Why does it seem like
I denounced white supremacy? Okay,
you did 2 days later.
I denounced white supremacy for years, but you always do it. You always start off with a question. You didn't ask Joe Biden whether or not he denounces Antifa.
How many times are we going to go over this, folks? He answered it. He said he condones white supremacy. He condones all forms of hatred and racism. Like, why is this the first question on your list? There are more pressing matters that need to be addressed, but this is the first question that you asked the president? If you guys didn't watch my Proud Boys video, I made a compilation of all the times Trump has denounced white supremacy, KKK, and racism and all forms of hatred in America. Why is this such a huge talking point? Do you guys want him to say, no, I don't? Why? Like, he's not going to do it, all right? Gosh, just stop asking that question. We already know what the end game is here. You just want to try and catch him so news media sources can have headlines saying Trump did not condone white supremacy, blah, 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 when actually he's been condoning white supremacy on more than at least 5 occasions, 7 if you include this time and the last debate. It's insane how this question keeps coming up. Just leave it alone, please. But that wasn't the highlight of the night. It wasn't the highlight of the night. This was the highlight of the night.
Denouncing, let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true and that disavow QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that.
Yes, folks, she has decided to bring up QAnon. Now, if you don't know what QAnon is a group of people who have speculated that there is a satanic cult full of pedophiles inside the Democratic Party. Which, is that true? But anytime anybody uses the word pedophile, it should be investigated, especially in a political side like the Democratic Party. I would be saying the same thing if they said that there was a pedophile sex cult inside of the Republican Party. We should take a look. But all this is kind of just like speculatory. But I have to digress that if after the Jeffrey Epstein case went down and you found out that he had an island that was full of children who were being sexually trafficked, you would think that people would take this word pedophile a little bit more seriously. But no one is really looking into this. And then I mean, like, if anything involving children is involved, I would be like, we should probably take a look at that. Clearly, we should. But Trump didn't know anything about QAnon. Instead, he kept on saying, no, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. Take a look.
Ben Sass said, quote, QAnon is nuts and real leaders call conspiracy theories conspiracy theories. Why not just say it's crazy and not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me ask you another thing.
Let's waste a whole show. You start off with white supremacy. I denounce it. You start off with something else. Let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
Okay.
Why keep on pressing the question about something the president doesn't know? Doesn't make sense. It does. I don't understand this logic. He said he didn't know. Why do you keep on pressing the topic? I mean, anybody should be against pedophilia. I mean, we're human beings. These are children. Anybody who has a fucking frontal cortex operating and a human soul should be, we should probably crack down on this. It's like the whole Wayfair thing that happened a month back, or a few months back, going over the whole pedophile ring that Wayfair was kind of trafficking children through that, and it was weird. Like these things are happening, folks. Now, I'm not like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not sitting here saying that QAnon exists. It could exist. It couldn't exist. It may not. It may. I don't know. But I mean, there's a lot of writing on the wall that would suggest that these people are fighting against these sex traffickers. You had Epstein. You have Wayfair. You had the alleged Pizzagate. I mean, there's a lot of evidence out there to suggest that this could be real, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. All right, so moving on. The first question that came from one of our actual people who asked the question was actually from a mother and daughter about the economy. How do you plan on fixing the economy? It was actually from the mom, and I kind of like how she answered this question. So here was her question.
Bienvenido a Miami.
Thank you.
Mr. Trump, as a frontline ER doctor working through the coronavirus pandemic,
Right.
I know firsthand, and I've seen that many hospitals throughout the United States are suffering financial hardships. These economic effects are trickling down to the frontline workers.
Right.
We are being, across the country, frontline workers are being fired, they're being furloughed, our salaries are being cut. And this is also happening in other economic sectors as well, including the travel industry and hospitality.
Right.
My question to you is, how are you going to get the United States back on track, both in terms of the economy and the pandemic?
And here was Trump's response.
So it's happening. We just set a record, 11.4 million jobs. We are going to have a phenomenal third quarter, which will be announced on November 1st, just prior to the big November 3rd day, where I think you're going to see a red wave. But we're going to have a tremendous announcement, I believe. I mean, we're going to find out. But GDP is going through the roof. Jobs, real estate, houses, so many things are happening. So people were saying we were going to have a 42% unemployment. Look, this was a thing that came into our country, and it happened more than 100 years ago, and it happened now. They were talking about a 42% unemployment rate.
Who was talking about that? I heard 20%. It just came out at 7.8% unemployment, and people can't even believe it.
Now, you got to keep in mind that I'm not going to be speaking much on this. I have the footage of the entire debate. I'm just going to let Trump speak for himself, but I will give you my opinion and my 2 cents. He is absolutely correct. There have been 11.4 million jobs created in the last, 4 or 5 months of this year. During COVID, we're in a V-shaped curve. There's jobs that are opening up. I mean, the economy is looking really good right now. It's a V-shape. Boing, boing. It's going back up after this whole thing, and unemployment is down 7.8%. I think a few months ago, we were at 13.4% unemployment rate. As of October 16th, today, the economy and unemployment is down to 7.8%, which is actually pretty amazing considering all the lockdowns that happened and how many people were on unemployment and how many people were actually losing their jobs or getting furloughed or laid off. So I mean, I think that's pretty impressive, and the numbers kind of speak for themselves. So um, I totally agree with that answer. Okay, so a lot of these questions that I'm going over are the questions that stick out to me. I have the whole debate, I mean, the whole town hall in my descriptions below. Just go ahead and watch it for yourself. Tell me what you think. I'm not here to sway anybody. I'm not here to tell you who to vote for. I'm here to tell you to listen and to keep a close eye on what you feel resonates with you more. Okay. And that's the same thing for Biden. Whatever resonates with you, go vote for your guy. Just make sure you guys get out and vote on November 3rd. Okay. The next one is about Obamacare. Now, here's the question from this individual.
Thank you for your service, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
We're a hardworking, middle-class family of four. My husband and I are both self-employed, and we have to get our own individual health care. As you know, healthcare costs have gone up considerably over the decades, and you had originally said you were going to repeal and replace Obamacare. What is your plan now in 2020 to make healthcare costs affordable for Americans like myself?
And here's the answer from President Trump.
So we got rid of the individual mandate on Obamacare, which was the worst part of Obamacare, and now you could actually say it's not Obamacare, because that's how big it was, where you had to pay a fortune for the privilege of not having to pay for bad health insurance. So we got rid of that. That was a big, big thing. And by doing that, and we will always have, by the way, we're always protecting people with pre-existing conditions, and I can't say that more strongly, but we've been able to bring health care costs way down. Now, I took over Obamacare, got rid of the individual mandate, made it good, managed it much better. Remember, they had the $5 billion website disaster and all of the problems they had. The problem with Obamacare, it's not good. We'd like to terminate it, and we want a much less expensive health care that's a much better health care, and that's where we're aiming. And if we can do that, and we have a very good chance of doing it, but we've also brought down the price of Obamacare. Problem with Obamacare, it basically is never going to be great.
Now, Obamacare, I wasn't a fan of, because people who normally wasn't a fan of paying for healthcare or getting healthcare, it was mandated that you had to, otherwise you would face a tax penalty at the end of the year. I don't think that's right, because you're sort of slightly infringing on someone's rights here, God-given rights. If you don't know what those are, please check out some of my other videos. I have been so hot button pushing that idea, which that's what the Constitution does. It protects our God-given rights. But telling somebody that you have to have healthcare insurance and then paying for it when some of these people couldn't pay for it is outrageous. Businesses were closed, people had lost their jobs because employers didn't want to have to pay for health insurance like that. That's not right to mandate that. Health insurance, people were saying that it's a right. It's not a right. It's actually a privilege, sad to say, but it's not a constitutional right to have health care. I'm sorry. Another part of that question was asked if you're going to get rid of people's health insurance who had pre-existing condition. And Trump was very clear on what he said. He said he's going to make sure that people with pre-existing conditions are taken care of. I don't know necessarily how they're going to be taken care of, but that he's going to take care of them. He's planning on replacing Obamacare with something better. Now, it's October. He's been in office for 4 years. A lot of people are asking, where's that health insurance? When are you going to give it to us? He has removed the individual mandate, which means you're not required by law anymore to have Obamacare or health care, which means at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, you won't be penalized, which I think is great. But because COVID is such a thing, I think that kind of just went out the window because people want to be protected just in case they do get COVID. But then there's some articles floating around that most people's healthcare don't cover COVID. So I don't really know what the plan is here, but he wants to get rid of Obamacare. He wants to bring in something that's less expensive and is more affordable as well as effective for people. So I thought that was a pretty good answer in itself. So that is very, 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 very good in my part. Like I have healthcare. Honestly, I don't use it like I should. I mean, I went to the doctor maybe once this year, but that's it. But I mean, I only use my healthcare insurance if I really, really, really need to go to the doctor. But like I said, I'm one of those people that's like, it's better to have it to not need it than to need it to not have it. But some people think differently. Most people want to save their money and keep that extra $80 or so from their paycheck being deducted. So it is what it is. The fact of the matter is that you should be able to decide what's best for you and your family. The government should not have to mandate anything that you don't agree with. So if you want to have healthcare, I say go get healthcare. If you don't need it, you don't want it, you shouldn't be penalized for not having it. That's just my opinion. The next question was about the stimulus package that's trying to be passed through. So here was the question. I think this one came from some guy. I think Savannah might have added to it, but here's the question.
Get to question number 5, and you'll like this. He's stuck in traffic. His name is Joe White. He is registered as a Democrat. He says he's leaning toward Biden, and Biden had voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. And his question was, a second stimulus payment has been broadly agreed upon by the Republicans and Democrats, and yet now we're in October and it's still not passed. Why not use your office to make the second stimulus payment a separate targeted emergency relief package to help Americans weather the pandemic?
And here's Trump's answer.
Well, we've actually passed 3 packages, and we're on our 4th, and I agree with him 100%. He should vote for me. The problem you have is Nancy Pelosi. She couldn't care less about the worker. She couldn't care less about our people, and we should have a stimulus, and I want a stimulus. The Republicans will approve a stimulus. The problem is she doesn't want to do it because she thinks it's bad for her election. The fact is she's wrong, because people know she's in our way. She's not approving it. She doesn't appreciate our people, and she doesn't appreciate at all our workers. Nancy Pelosi, we are ready to sign and pass stimulus, but she's got to.
People do not love the back and forth.
So yes, it is very, very annoying that this whole next stimulus package is being held up by Nancy Pelosi. I mean, this is the woman who did get a haircut in the middle of a lockdown and said that she was fed up. My God, these people get paid 6 figures a year of our tax dollars to do absolutely nothing. So Trump was absolutely spot on with this. He's ready to sign a bill. There was a tweet, and I will be remiss if I didn't mention this. There was a tweet that stated that he was walking away from negotiations until after the election. I don't think he should have tweeted that, to be brutally honest, because people are really suffering right now. Some people are still on furlough. Some people are unemployed, and some people are hanging on to whatever unemployment checks they're getting. Again, it's not, I wouldn't say it's necessarily all of his fault. No, what I'm saying is that Nancy Pelosi needs to stop making this political and put into what the people need. There was an incident on CNN where she was arguing with, I forgot this guy's name, something Wolf something. Anyway, here, take a look at it.
I'm asking you serious questions because so many people are in desperate need right now. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
When was the last time?
Let me respond to you.
Let me ask you, when was the last time, Madam Speaker, when was the last time you spoke with the president about this?
I don't speak to the president. Speak with his representative.
Why not call him and say, Mr. President, let's work out a deal. It's not going to be everything you want, not going to be everything I want, but there are so many Americans right now who are in desperate need. Let's make a deal.
What makes me amused, if it weren't so sad, is how you all think that you know more about the suffering of the American people than those of us who are elected by them to represent them at that table.
And it's not about me. It's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent,
and
who are
we
having
represent
trouble,
them, and we represent them,
getting
and
by
we represent
these
them,
long food
and we
lines that we're
represent
seeing.
them.
I know
we
you
know
are.
them.
I'm just saying.
We represent them, and we know them.
As we
We
say,
know them. We represent them.
don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, as they say
It is
here in
nowhere
Washington.
near perfect.
Madam Speaker.
Always the case, but we're not even close to the good.
All right, let's see what happens, because every day is critically, critically important. Thanks so much for
Thank you
joining
for your
us.
sensitivity to our constituents' needs.
I am sensitive to them because I see them on the street begging for food, begging for money. Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
Have you fed them? We feed them. We feed them.
We'll continue this conversation down the road for sure. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
And he completely calls her out on it. Like, people are suffering. You're saying you're feeding these people. These people are on your streets, and mostly all the homelessness is in San Francisco, which is your district. Actually, California, yours and Kamala Harris's district. So, I mean, or state. So I don't really know what you're planning on doing here, but you're trying to make this stimulus package being held up more political than it is necessary. And it's not okay. But I do have to point out this.
The fact is, she's wrong because people know she's in our way. She's not approving it. She doesn't appreciate our people, and she doesn't appreciate at all our workers. Nancy Pelosi, we are ready to sign and pass stimulus, but she's got to. The fact is, she's wrong because people know she's in our way. She's not approving it. She doesn't appreciate our people, and she doesn't appreciate at all our workers. Nancy Pelosi, we are ready to sign and pass stimulus, but she's got to.
Whoever this woman is in the background nodding, she was the life of the party last night. I just have to point that out. She was great. She was nodding at everything Trump was saying. I don't know who she is, but if anybody got any information on who this woman is, send me her Twitter because I got to give her a high five because she was just making the president look good last night, which, you know, he was looking good regardless, but still, it was great. So those are my basic bullet points on last night's town hall. If you haven't watched it, the link to watching the full hour is in the description below. Take a look at that. It was actually very, very good. I like the way Trump was reiterating himself. Well, I would say reiterating, but making himself clear so that people could understand what it is he was trying to say in terms of the questions and the answers that were given. But what do you think? Do you think this town hall was good for Trump? What do you think about the election? And I don't want to know who you're going to vote for. That's entirely up to you. Have at it. But make sure you do go vote November 3rd. Early voting starts here in my city tomorrow. So I will be the first in line to go and cast my vote. So make sure you guys do that. Also, keep in mind, don't wait till the last minute if you plan on voting on November 3rd, but make sure you're registered to vote. All right. I'm getting tired of Facebook asking me if I'm registered to vote. If you're not sure, go check. If you're not registered, register. It's the easiest thing you can do. All right. And I think that's about wraps it up for this episode. I am Will at Heroic Studios. Again, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, catch me on Parler, and join my Discord if you're afraid that your voice is being silenced by the corporate media, social media giants, all right? I will be there waiting. I have a lot of funny memes that you guys can take and explore and share, and it'll be a lot of fun. So until next time, folks, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys next time on part 2 of this 2-part series, going over Biden's town hall last night in Pennsylvania. I will see you guys next time. Bye.